I'd like to call the Monday, April 5, 2021 Oakwood City Council meeting to order. Would you please rise and join me with the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. Can I have a roll call, please, Lori?
Mayor Duncan?
Here.
Mr. Stevens?
Here.
Mrs. Hilton?
Here.
Mrs. Turbin?
Here.
And do I have a motion to excuse Vice Mayor Byington, who had to leave town unexpectedly for an illness in his family?
Yeah, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now, next we have a report on the minutes of our March 1st regular session, work session, and executive session, and our March 15 work session and executive session. Councilmember Hilton.
Thank you, Your Honor. I've reviewed the minutes from all 5 of those meetings, and I found them to be correct and complete, and therefore I move that they be adopted as written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That will also be so ordered. Under status reports, I actually have 2, only one's on the agenda. We do have an appointment for an open seat on our Board of Zoning Appeals, and Don O'Connor has agreed to serve a term on the Board of Zoning Appeals. So I would make a motion that we appoint Don O'Connor to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Do I have a second?
Second, yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then I have something that I wish to read into the record. This came from the General Assembly from the state of Ohio under the Ohio Senate. And it is honoring the city of Oakwood as a best place to live. On behalf of the members of the Senate of the 134th General Assembly of Ohio, we are pleased to commend the city of Oakwood on being selected as the #1 best place to live in Ohio by Niche. Throughout its history, the city of Oakwood has been known for its residents' civic pride and willingness to work hard, and they have supported its economic well-being, its superior school district, and its beautiful parks, recreational facilities, and residential streets. Oakwood has given all those who call it home a reason to revel in their community, which has been nationally acclaimed for its charm and character. The city of Oakwood has gained a reputation as an amiable and pleasant community, offering wonderful places to live and explore, and it has flourished in its efforts to achieve great progress. As a result, the city and all those who reside within it are afforded the opportunity to reflect on the accomplishments of the past and look forward to a future filled with promise. Thus, it is with genuine applause that we congratulate the city of Oakwood as the best place to live in Ohio and extend best wishes for the years to come. And it's signed by Senator Huffman, President of the Ohio Senate, and Senator Niraj Antani, who is our representative for the 6th Senatorial District. So we have, I have actually put this on the refrigerator in my office so all my employees know where they need to be living, and you should do the same. And I think we sent a copy to Brian Barr of the Oakwood Register, and hopefully he will print that in the Register on Wednesday so the people who aren't watching tonight will be able to read that. So that's a nice little neat honor. So that concludes the staff report section. We do have 2 special visitors this evening, and we're excited to have visitors again. So we have Christy Hale from the Wright Memorial Library, and she wants to give us an update on what's going on at Wright Library. Welcome, Christy.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'm going to share my screen.
Great. Well, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members, for inviting us to give you this update. I'm excited about it.
Let me take this off so everybody from home can hear me a little bit better. This project is going to ensure that the physical building of the library supports its 5-star services for generations to come. So I'm really excited to share it with you, show you where we are, and answer questions that you have. This is a $5.1 million project, and we are funding it 75% with future tax revenues. We took out a 10-year note with a great interest rate of 1.57%. that will be paid off in 10 years, and then 25% philanthropic. So it's a public-private partnership, and I'm really pleased to report that we are 90% to our philanthropic goal. Just to refresh council and for those who might be watching at home, this is our current layout of the library, and the area in the greenish color is the area that was renovated in 2018. It was a historic preservation project where we took the historic part of the building and brought it back to its original luster. And the other 83% of this of our library has not been updated for the past between 30 and 40 years. The project includes major infrastructure, all of the systems that make the library run. A huge part of this is our HVAC system, bringing it up to today's standards with airflow, modernizing the elevator, turning our lights into LED for lower operating costs, making sure the exterior of the building is repaired, cleaned, tuck pointed, the roof. All of that is included in this project. And then in addition, we are really going to transform Wright Library into a beautiful civic space that fully functions as a modern learning environment for all types of users. It's going to greatly improve accessibility with ADA restrooms updated, handicap parking, accessible shelves and seating. We are going to be separating the active spaces from quiet spaces so that all users have a better experience. Creating a richer environment for teens and children is a big priority for the project. And then carrying the aesthetic of the beautiful historic building deeper into the building. We have been fortunate to have been given some historic furniture, some of it from Standard Register, that matches the furniture that's in the front reading rooms, so we'll be able to carry that thread in. Also some stained glass from a local resident. The focus on the project is to be better, not bigger. So there's not a lot of new construction here, but I will start by showing you the features of the lower level, which is here on the right. And we are creating a new vestibule in the back that will allow us to reopen the park entrance and give people a better experience with parking, and including adding some ADA parking on Aberdeen, which I'll show you in a minute. This vestibule will have a after-hours hold pickup, so people who need contactless pickup of their materials or can't get there when the library is open will have access to those materials, and stroller parking. And then this lower level becomes really an active space for children's, teens, and our AV collections. Here in children's, we're going to have an opportunity to have story time in the room where the books are in this corner. And really opening this up, this wall will be opened up to French doors going out onto an outdoor learning area for children. It's really going to increase our programmatic space and bring light into this lower level. It's always felt more like a basement, so this is really going to connect to the park. We also are adding over here a family restroom. And then teens, which is over here, is going to get about 30% bigger. It's going to have technology here in the room for the teens, some tutoring booths, and collaboration space. And moving over into the first floor, above that vestibule that we're putting in downstairs, we are capturing a beautiful conference room that will overlook the park. And one of those Standard Register conference tables will be utilized in this space. Our community room is going to move up to this main floor, and we get a little bit larger capacity. This room is used for all of the library's big programs, and it's also a large community space. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be tech-enabled, so built-in projector, speakers, microphones, and also some assisted listening technology that will be built in for people who are hearing impaired so that they have a better experience. We have 2 restrooms on this floor. Neither is currently ADA compliant. We are going to be able to make this one bigger and make it ADA compliant. Oh, sorry, did not mean to do that. This one will be ADA compliant. They'll both be unisex. And then adult computing is going to move here. This is currently a solid wall, so that when you stand in the center of Wright Library, you really can't see into the back portion of the library where the windows are. That's going to open that up and give us a much better sense of civic space. There are going to be quite a few site enhancements as well. I mentioned parking on Aberdeen. We have an opportunity to put some slant-in angled parking here, 4 spaces that are going to be ADA compliant so that residents can park there and get into that back vestibule. The grade there from Aberdeen to that back entrance is pretty flat, and so that'll be a good opportunity for us to improve the accessibility, which is one of our major goals. All new walkways, pole lighting, landscaping is going to be a part of this project, but we're taking great care that we are not impacting the roots of these trees. And there will be some west side enhancements too. I don't have a rendering of that yet, but we will be redoing the walkways and the landscaping on the front end, the far hillside, so that we can eliminate the ramps and railings that are currently there, again making a better accessibility experience. And as you can see, the back vestibule is going to be designed similar to the front with that pitched slate roof to make it feel much like the front. And we're going to also keep the copper awning that's on the back of the building that's not shown in the picture, but we will salvage that and replace that. The project is in 3 phases. We are in phase 1 that started in January. All of the yellow areas, phase 1, which is the entire lower level, and then also that new conference room on the main floor and the elevator. Then we'll move into phase 2 about midsummer, and the green space is the main floor on the east side with that new community room and the adult collection and the adult computers and administrative offices. And then the third phase is the pink area. It's really smaller than what's pictured here because the front area, the historic area, has really already been done. So I brought some photos. This is the east side of the building, and the photo on the left starts to show where that outdoor children's learning area is going to be. And then on the right, it's with your back toward Aberdeen, pointing towards Telford, you can start to see where that new vestibule is going to be. Inside, on the left, this is our AV area that was vacated, and on the right, it's that same AV area starting to show where this is going to be teens and the audiovisual together. Top left photo is if you're walking in that new vestibule, this is where teens used to be. This wall is going to be eliminated, and you can start to see the demolition of that. And then the big picture on the right shows the support so that that wall can start to come down. This is again inside the vestibule downstairs facing into what used to be the teen area, and now you can see that the framing has begun for the family restroom and janitor's closet and self-checkout area. And last photo I have for you today is this is going to be the new children's space. It used to be the program room. And you can see the framing on the sides of the walls. There's no framing over here because that's where those French doors are going to be. So our timeline for the project, again, we started in January, and the interior of phase 1 should be done by early July. And then we will move into phase 2 from July to fall, and phase 3 will be fall to December. The site work is ongoing and will last through the fall. Major milestones there would be the Aberdeen parking, and the east walkways will be done in the summer to have less impact on the schools. And then the west side landscaping and redoing of those walkways will happen in the fall. I really want to thank our city partners. I have to say a big shout out. This is a complex project, and you guys have been phenomenal partners throughout. Norb has been wonderful, but all of you, Doug Spittler, Ethan Kroger, Jennifer, Kara Collins, Rob Jacks, everybody has been terrific. I know there's going to be a lot of decisions yet to come. I look forward to working with you all. It's been a pleasure. If anybody would like a hard hat tour, we'd be happy to take you downstairs for that. And then we're really looking forward to celebrating the reopening of this community gem with all of you. So any questions?
Thank you, Christy. Does anyone have questions for her?
Thank you very much. Yeah, exciting.
And
We're
we
very
have, I've said it in council meetings and in my State of the City, but congratulations on being a 5-star library. That's a huge honor, and we're really excited about that for you.
Thank you very much.
All
And
right.
congratulations to this great city on being the #1 place in
about
Oakwood
that,
to live.
huh?
That's amazing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next special guest is from probably the best run not-for-profit organization in the Miami Valley. I know that personally because this week I concluded my 40-year term on their board of trustees, Goodwill Easter Seals Miami Valley. And most people think that, well, that's where you take your used clothes to get them recycled, but it's people like Justine Bauer who provide the necessary and needed services to our community. And I welcome you, Justine, and look forward to hearing your report.
Sorry, I'm kind of short, so I'm trying to get this down. So my name is Justine Bauer, and I am a prevention specialist at Goodwill Easter Seals Miami Valley. And today I am going to try and condense a lot of information and just kind of share about medication safety, and what we have in store. So I'm going to discuss the scopes, some causes and consequences, identify some key messages that we want you to take away from this presentation, and discuss how you can take action in your community and be a role model for your community and the young adults and youth in our area. So what is misuse? So misuse is taking more than prescribed of your medication, taking medication for a different reason than prescribed, or sharing or taking someone else's medication, regardless of the intentions or the circumstances. So prescription drug misuse is a national epidemic. I know maybe with COVID we don't hear as much, but in the past, I mean, it's all over the news nationwide. I just want to show you, I'm not going to go in very big detail, but this is just from the Montgomery County Public Health website. This is updated as of last week. So you can see that in March last month, we had 21 accidental overdose in Montgomery County. So while we, love to think that, oh, it's not here in our home, it is. It does happen in our community, and it's up to us to take some steps and make our homes safer. So why does this happen? There's so many different reasons. Mixing drugs, whether it be taking Tylenol with a prescription drug and you didn't realize that it was going to interact with each other. Our drugs taking culture. If you have high blood pressure, let's just take a pill for that. If you're feeling this, let's take a pill for that, instead of maybe changing our lifestyles. Also, the easy access. Sometimes we say have surgery and we hold on to that pain medication because we didn't use all of it. So it's just sitting in our cabinet in our bathroom. That's creating easy access for anybody that comes into our bathroom. We like to always think that, oh, if I have a visitor in my home, they're not going to take my medication. But that's not always the case, okay? And this is the reason why we come out here to City Council. We go out to our schools and teach kids in a fun, game-like way of teaching them medication safety. We go into churches. Pretty much anywhere that we can go and talk about medication safety, we will be there. So good news, while all this stuff is happening, you guys can make a difference. So some ways you guys can make a difference is, using your prescription medication as directed by your healthcare professional. If it says to take one pill every 8 hours, take one pill every 8 hours, not maybe one every 6 hours. Making sure we're reading that label. Do not share or take anybody else's medication. Making sure when we pick up our medication from the pharmacy that it has our name on it. It also usually has a description of the pill that you're taking, making sure that matches, because we're all humans, we all make errors, so we just want to make sure that we're taking the right medication for us and not giving it to others. Keeping your medication safe. We'll kind of talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, but keeping your medication up high, away from animals, away from little fingers, little kids crawling on the floor, making sure that it's locked and kept away. And then also just modeling safe medication practice. So being a role model, and we always think being a role model for little kids or the youth, but you can also be a role model for your elders, for your peers. So before, taking pain medication, you should always ask questions. I'm a big person on advocating for yourself because doctors, they have your best interest in heart, but they don't know you until you share how you feel about things. So if you don't necessarily want to take pain medication, ask them if there's a different medication that's not as strong, or maybe just is there an alternative that you can do. Asking them about the risk. Do you have a family history of addiction? If that's the case, you want to make sure that you keep that communication open with your physician. And just asking them, if I do have to take this medication, what are some safety things? What are some things I should look out for? What are bad side effects? Things like that. And then, like I said, there's also alternatives. So sometimes we get those aches and pains as we get older. I know I'm still really young, but I still get those aches and pains. So, trying some yoga or stretching, even like meditation, because sometimes, work gets the best of us. We start to get really stressed out. That's when our shoulders get really tense, and we start to feel all those things. We need to take some time and maybe reevaluate ourselves and just take that time to meditate or do some stretching. So yeah, so keeping your medication safe. We have, if you're older than 55, we have lock boxes available. You just have to apply for them if you would like them in your home. But also, I know CVS, I was there the other day, they sell lock boxes for $30. It's a little small thing that you can keep in your room, keep away from other people. But if that's not an option for you guys, just make sure that you keep it up high and out of reach of other people. And also, ask the pharmacist about where you can store your medication. I know some medications, I used to always store them in my medicine cabinet in my bathroom, and then I learned that, because I like hot showers, that over time, that moisture that gets into that pill changes how effective it is. And that was bad. So always just asking those questions when you're at the pharmacist about your medication. Also, if you have medication that you're no longer using, I talked about earlier, a lot of times I hear people say, oh, I just had some extra medicine left over from when I had that surgery or when I got those wisdom teeth out. Let's get rid of that medication. Let's eliminate that problem of somebody else who's not supposed to have that medication getting it. So I know that there are drop boxes all over the community. I think there's even a drop box here at the city council, so you guys rock. But yeah, so if you don't have that option, twice a year, and this year, April 24th, it's a Saturday, there's the National DEA Take Back Day. And we are fortunate enough that this year, one of the locations will be at Goodwill Easter Seals, downtown on Main Street. It's going to be drive-through only. We'll also have some other vendors there as well. So, stop by, clean out your closet, clean out your medicine cabinet, and get rid of those old medication. We also have at Goodwill Easter Seals, we have these medication disposal pouches. And I've also provided City Council with 25 of them here on site. So if you don't want to go out to the DEA Take Day and you don't feel like finding a drop box, you can have one of these in your home. You simply just open it up, put some water in it, put the medicine. I think it can hold 45 pills, 6 pain pouches. You just put it in there with water, seal it, shake it, and throw it away. That way it's deactivated. If anybody were to go into your trash, they wouldn't have access to that. Another really big resource that I just want to kind of mention is the Get Help Now app. It's an app that you can download on your phone, and it's completely free. And what's awesome about it is it has several different resources that you guys can use in your community. Whether it's the warm line, if you're feeling down in the dumps, you call the warm line. They have the crisis care hotline on there. And they have so many other resources that you guys can use. So whether you can use it or you know somebody who can, it's a great app. I know I said a lot. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Justine?
Yes, Justine, thank you for doing this. So your very last slide, I didn't catch what that connects you to. Is that to our local resources?
In Montgomery County, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have all, so our main focus, I always talk about the crisis care line and the warm line, which is, if you're feeling down or if you just need some help, you're feeling a lot of the feelings, you can always call that number. I believe it also has support for families if they're in need as well. Mothers that are looking for resources, things like that. It's got a ton of resources.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
And do you know the website for Goodwill Easter Seals so you can learn about all the great services we do?
Yeah. So I provided some via email. So for the Zoom people, I also brought in person some handouts that have information about the different things that I touched on. So if you're via Zoom and you would like some resources, always feel free to reach out, and we'll get you to where you need to be.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Goodwill Easter Seals Miami Valley, the best run not-for-profit in Dayton. Thank you, and
Thank you.
give my regards to all the folks down there that you work with.
Will do. Thank you guys so much for letting me come and chat to you about medication safety.
Thank you very much. All right. Do we have any other visitors that wish to address council at this time? Oh, I see some people on Zoom here. I've got to look and see here. I've got, looks like maybe 4, 6. Great. Can you all hear us well? Sort of a thumbs up. Don't see a thumbs up. Well, I see a couple blank screens. There we go. Great. Well, thank you. Okay. Lori, did we have anyone who wished to address council? Okay. And our 2 visitors have left the arena. So,
If anyone is willing to address council on Zoom, they can raise their hand in the
I
Zoom
see.
app.
all right.
And then we will go ahead and unmute you where you can then share your comments or questions with council.
Well, I see our AES Ohio rep is listening, but his screen is dark. So if he puts his thumbs
in the
up,
car.
we won't be able to say, okay, he's in his car. All right. And, okay, so there he is.
Oh.
All right. Do any of you wish to address council at this time, or you're just excited to hear about Mr. Stevens' pending legislation? All right. Well, we're new at this Zoom thing, so we're getting better each time. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate you listening. So that will conclude the visitors section of our city council meeting. We will now go to legislation, and Mr. Stevens, as I said, has a lot of legislation.
Thank you, Mayor Duncan. This is an ordinance determining to proceed with the improvement of certain streets between certain termini in the city of Oakwood by lighting the same with electricity. This is an annual ordinance that is a second step of our 2022 street lighting program. It was introduced with a first reading at the March 1st, 2021 council meeting and is the ordinance that authorizes the city to proceed with the project. This is the second reading of this ordinance, and I move that council adopt it this evening.
Is there a second?
Second?
Are there any questions for Councilmember Stevens? Hearing none. Lori, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mrs. Hilton?
Yes.
Mrs. Turbin?
Yes.
And I'll give you the floor again.
I
I
shall
won't
continue.
even take the floor from you.
I'll take care of it. Thank
Okay.
you, sir. An ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets between certain termini in the city of Oakwood, Ohio by lighting the same with electricity. This ordinance is the third step of our 2022 street lighting program. It allows for the costs of street lighting to be certified to the Montgomery County Auditor for assessment. This is the first reading of this ordinance, so I make no motion at this time. Next, we have an ordinance to levy special assessments for the construction or reconstruction of sidewalks and appurtenances thereto in the city of Oakwood, Ohio. This ordinance is the third piece of legislation for last year's sidewalk repair project, authorizing the assessment of the sidewalk repair costs that have not already been paid directly by affected homeowners. This is the second reading of this ordinance, and I move that council adopt it tonight.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Any questions or comments for Councilmember Stevens? Hearing none, Lori, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mrs. Hilton?
Yes.
Mrs. Turbin?
Yes.
And to give Councilmember Stevens a break, I have an ordinance here adopting our 2022 tax budget for the city of Oakwood for the fiscal year beginning January 2022. This is to comply with Section 6.01 of our city charter. It's our annual housekeeping ordinance to estimate the city's revenues and expenses for calendar year 2022. It's the first reading of the ordinance, so I make no motion at this time, and I will now turn the floor back over to Councilmember Stevens.
That wasn't much of a break.
Yeah.
But thank you very much. An ordinance to approve and adopt a civil preparedness plan for the city of Oakwood. One of the great lessons of recent years is the importance of planning for civil emergencies. Civil emergency is a very broad category of events that threaten the operation of local government or the delivery of essential governmental services. It includes medical emergencies like the current COVID-19 pandemic, but could also include extreme weather events, the release of a dangerous chemical or biological compound, riots, or any other non-military event that could pose widespread threats to life, limb, or property. Over the last 2 years, Chief Alan Hill and Captain Kevin Przinski have updated the city's civil preparedness plan, and they are planning a series of training events to ensure that all city department heads have a good working familiarity with the city's emergency procedures. Under Section 150.04 of the city's administrative code, the city's civil preparedness plan must be approved by council. We have reviewed the plan in executive session with City Manager Klopsch and Chief Hill and believe that adopting it is in the best interest of the city. As such, I am introducing this ordinance to approve the civil preparedness plan as an emergency measure so they can take effect as quickly as possible for the protection of the public peace, health, safety, and welfare. And at this time, I'd like to ask Chief Hill to come up and give us a presentation on this preparedness plan.
Good evening. Your Honor,
Welcome.
Council. I think before I begin, I would be remiss not to address the importance of what Justine just talked about. You know, many communities, I should say this, no community is immune from prescription drug abuse and the opioid crisis. You know, here in the city of Oakwood since 2015, we've responded to 22 overdoses in our community. I know it's not a big number in comparison to what we may see in neighboring jurisdictions, but it is a large number for our size of our community. And many of these overdoses are a direct result of what she's talking about with prescription drug abuse. A lot of times it starts with a legitimate back surgery, a car crash where you're prescribed pain medication. It ultimately turns into prescription drug abuse, and then illegal street drug use. Because of a person suffering from addiction no longer obtain the prescription drug medication, they now turn to illegal street drug use, and it's a very sad situation. In my career, I've seen a lot of lives ruined, starting with a legitimate injury and a person being prescribed pain medication. So with that being said, there is a lot of help out there. If you think you're struggling, when she talks about misusing medication, seeking out medication, if you think you're struggling out there, there's a lot of help out there in Montgomery County. And the other thing is we do have a prescription drug box here in our building, 30 Park Avenue. It's accessible 24/7. Get it out of your house. and come dispose of it in a proper way. There are certain things we can't take: gels, liquids, needles, inhalers. You can go to our website under our safety department, under department programs and services. You can hear about what, or read about what we can and cannot take. But get it out of your house, come drop it off, we'll safely dispose of it for you. So it is a very important topic. With that being said, the civil preparedness and the emergency operation plan. As Councilmember Stevens mentioned, we've had a pretty comprehensive discussion regarding to the revision, or the updating, I should say, of our plan. And part of the reason, besides the ORC, the Ohio Revised Code, we have two specific City of Oakwood ordinances that covers civil preparedness. Chapter 149 specifically talks about the city manager shall be the administrative head and the director of civil preparedness and serve as such without compensation. The city manager may appoint an assistant director and or civil director responsible to the city manager as well. The city manager is also authorized to appoint such administrative officers as may be required to assist him in administering and operating the civil defense organization for the city. That's where the department heads come in and our roles and responsibilities. Chapter 150 specifically defines what civil preparedness is. It means the ability to carry out basic government functions in maintaining the public peace, health, and safety during a civil emergency. As we talked about, that could be a natural disaster event, or it could be a man-made event. The director, anytime in the city charter it references the director, that it refers to the city manager. And when it talks about regulations, it talks about plans, programs, rules, restrictions, and requirements for other emergency procedures, specifically regulations and plans, the emergency operation plan. And as Mr. Klops or Councilmember Stevens mentioned, one of the reasons why we're here is because of under 150, we are required, or council is required to review and adopt the plan. What is an emergency operations plan? The purpose of an emergency operation plan, or an EOP, is to provide structure and processes that an organization will utilize to respond to and initially recover from an event. As mentioned, over the last couple of years, Captain Brzezinski and myself have looked at the existing operations plan, and we really did a comprehensive revision of that plan. I think after the tornadoes that occurred a couple of years ago on Memorial Day weekend, I think everybody in the community started looking at their plans and they started thinking, oh, what if? You know, what if it happened here? So we started looking at our plan and came up with a revision. There is a format change from what the old plan looked like to the new one, but basically our plan follows a traditional function EOP format. Although this isn't the sole format that's available for EOP use, it is the most popular and widely used, specifically in our region of the state, and is consistent with many neighboring jurisdictions. So we went with a format that's consistently used within our area. It is comprised of three major sections: a base plan, which is a general overview; the emergency support functions, which is more specific, engaged for water, communications, fire safety services, building inspections. It's more specific plans for various topics, and then ultimately an appendices to cover additional things, contacting the governor's office and things of that nature. Emergency operations plans are based off the National Incident Management System. It was established in 2003 as part of the 9/11 Commission after the 9/11 attack on the World Trade Center. And what Nems is, commonly referred to as Nems, is a standardized national incident management system comprised of several components that work together as one to provide a framework for preparing, responding to, and recovering from domestic events. The 6 components of Nems is command and management, preparedness, resource management, communications, and information management, supporting technologies, and ongoing management and maintenance. These components is what is comprised within the City of Oakwood Emergency Operation Plan. There's 3 priorities that our plan is based off. First and foremost, priority number 1 is life saving, to save and rescue as many human lives as possible. Number 2 is protecting property, save property from destruction, and take action when appropriate to prevent property damage. And number 3 is restoring the community. Priority 3, restoring critical infrastructure, roadways, water system, utilities, and then assist the citizens the best we can with the disaster recovery process. So again, our emergency operations plan is based on 3 priorities. First and foremost, protect life. Second priority, protect property. And the third priority is to restore the community as quick as you can. Phases of emergency management: prevention and preparedness. You have the protection phase, the mitigation, the response, and the recovery. What we're focused on here with the revision of our emergency operations plan is more of the prevention and the preparedness and the protection phase. What can we do to best respond if we're faced with one of these tragic situations? The City of Oakwood does not maintain an office solely tasked with emergency management. The city manager, as I mentioned, serves as the Oakwood's emergency manager, and Oakwood participates in regional emergency management efforts through coordination with the Montgomery County Office of Emergency Management. Here is a responsibility. I'm just going to go highlight real quickly what the individual department heads and what the city manager is over in the event of an emergency. The city manager, although there's 2 bullet points, they're huge. Serve as the emergency management director and ensures the continuity of the operations and services. So as mentioned, per city charter, the city manager serves as the emergency management director. When we get into public works, our public works director, they oversee the water facility, the city engineering, debris management. You get a tornado incident and you get a lot of trees down, a lot of debris. For those of us that were around the community in 2008 when Hurricane Ike came through, that was a several-week process of cleaning up that debris management. Transportation, energy, and utilities. Public safety director, my position, communication, security, firefighting, search and rescue, hazmat-related events, life and safety hazards, mass care, and public health. Director of Personnel and Properties, disaster recovery phase with regards to building inspections, electrical inspections, construction inspections, insurance adjusters. Finance directors, financial management, volunteer and donations management, and resource support. Leisure Services Director, temporary shelter, warming centers, information and planning. And as outlined, is the Leisure Services Director currently serves as second in command in the city. So when the city manager is gone, she can either 1, oversee the incident in Mr. Klops's absence, and 2, she serves to assist the city manager with an emergency management event. The role of City Council, defined in the plan, is to support the incident by enacting emergency declarations, legislation, and emergency spending measure as appropriate. If we need a supplemental appropriation for funds because we need certain equipment, let's say this building right here was damaged and we would need trailers to work out of parked out front or out back. You know, that could be a supplemental appropriation. Emergency declaration could be we'd have to implement a curfew if it was bad enough. So it would be council support in that area. To serve as a liaison and coordinate with public officials from surrounding jurisdictions as well as county, state, and federal officials, maintain the continuity of government, participate in the Emergency Operations Command Executive Group, and participate in public information broadcast appropriate to the incident. Any questions on the roles? I know I covered them quickly. There's a lot going on with each of us individually as our roles as department heads, then collectively as a group in managing, a significant event. Training and exercises, as was mentioned in the introduction of the ordinance. Key city personnel will periodically engage in training and exercises involving the emergency operations plan. These are most commonly referred to as tabletop exercises, which are in-depth, hypothetical, scenario-based training exercises, and they're really designed for these reasons. Why do you conduct tabletop exercises? Well, one, you want to clarify the roles of the individual department heads, city manager, council. We can talk about our roles, how we would each work together to help support one another. Myself and Doug Spittler, who director of public works, our departments are going to support each other. And it's to clarify those roles and see how we can improve that interagency communication. We can identify potential resource gaps. Is there anything that we need that we could get now to be better prepared? Improve individual performance. I think anytime when you look at a document such as emergency operations plan, sometimes it can be overwhelming. So going through it and really slowing down and going through each and every function of the plan can help improve our individual performance if ever needed later on, and ultimately identify where we can improve. So those are really the 5 major role or keys to why you engage in tabletop exercises, and when we do it, what we're looking to get out of those exercises. Finally, the Emergency Operations Plan is a fluid document that will be reviewed and updated annually as needed. It's a living document. Like that, do we have any questions?
Questions for the chief? I know, over the last 8 to 10 years, we've been talking about improving communications capabilities among multiple jurisdictions. I know we have spent some money on upgrading our communication equipment. Are you seeing progress there, or do you think that it's fixed, or we still have some ways to go?
Back in 2014, with the upgrade to the countywide dispatch system, everybody switching to the MARC system and the P25 compliance, I think there's definitely better interoperable communications among cities, county to cities, than what there once was. Yeah, it's very easy for us with the technology that we have today to get in contact with both regional and state partners.
I know that's just one little tiny piece of this plan, but it intrigued me because I remember being involved with that.
Yeah, communications is huge, especially, that first 2 hours is going to dictate how the next 22 hours is going to go. And probably the number one priority in that first 2 hours is being able to effectively communicate to get the resources and the help that you need coming your way. And then what I would say is, from where we were 8 to 10 years ago as a region to where we are today, that interagency communication, cooperation, it's much easier to communicate, like I said, with our regional and state partners than maybe a decade ago.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Do you have a motion you'd like to make?
I do. Before I do that, though, I do want to, Chief Phil, thank you for not only the presentation, but I also want to thank you and Captain Brzezinski for all your work. In case it was overlooked, I did mention this is a 2-year project they've been working on. This is a lot of time and effort, in addition to their obviously regular duties they do here. for the city. But this is a large, large project, and I just want to personally thank you for all the time that you and Captain Brzezinski put in. I move the council adopt this ordinance tonight as an emergency measure for the reasons stated in the ordinance.
Do we have a second?
Second?
In the absence of Vice Mayor Byington, this, because we're doing it as an emergency, it would require unanimous vote. So Lori, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mrs. Hilton?
Yes.
Mrs. Turbin?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Hill.
Thank you, Council.
That concludes our legislation this evening. We now have a staff report from our Director of Public Works, Doug Spittler. Welcome, Doug.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm happy and proud to be here tonight representing Public Works Department. I think I was last here in October, and at that time, we didn't have a snow yet, and I think I jinxed ourselves. So we had plenty of it this time. So I'll just, if I could, start off with a little brief update on the winter operations. So I used the first snow we had in December of 2020, kind of like as the seasons go, to February 2021, which was our last snow or de-icing event. We had 17 total events throughout that period. Our salt usage was about 822 tons, which is pretty common for us. Very average season for us. Overtime hours was 540 hours. And then our salt cost, actually our per ton cost from the last time it was bid was $44.98, which was very favorable for communities around, including Oakwood. So annually our cost was $36,000, just short of $37,000 this year. As far as salt capacity, we have about 400 tons now. Our contract is through July, so we can still purchase salt at that reduced price, which we will be doing to fill up our facility in preparation. I would imagine the price would go up a little bit. Not quite sure where it'll fall, but I'm sure it'll go up a little bit. All right, moving into our first program tonight. It's our Asphalt Street program. It's our annual resurfacing program. I know Council passed an appropriation, I believe it was last meeting, to add additional money to it. So the following streets are what we have programmed this year for our street resurfacing program. Patterson Road, which does include the entire length of Patterson Road, Ridgewood Avenue, Skank Avenue, Runnymede Road, Runnymede Lane, and Sweetwood Lane. We did bid the project at the end of February. We had a total cost of $381,454. The awarded bidder is John R. Jurgensen, the same as last year. Additional projects that we'll be working on this year. Our annual pavement marking, which is the striping that we typically do every year. That will also include, since we're doing the project on Patterson Road, it'll include the striping on Patterson Road with that project. Traffic signal conflict monitor testing. So this is an annual test we do on all of our traffic signals to ensure that they're meeting specifications. Asphalt pavement rejuvenation. This is the Reclamite product that we use to extend the pavement life. Recycle center improvements, which we've talked about a little bit. That's moving the recycle center currently from Krieger Field over to 210 Public Works, 210 Schaefer at Public Works. Fiber optic installation to Orchardley Park. That is underway currently. It will extend fiber optic from all of our facilities, but the actual installation is from Far Hills down to Orchardley Park. And that is currently underway. Far Hills stormwater inlet repairs. So the inlets where rainwater goes along 48, we have to do those in advance of our paving project in 2024. So we'll be working on those inlet repairs this year. And then our automated meter reading software upgrade. So this is our meter reading software that automatically collects the meter readings from the water meters. The software will be upgraded this year. Just a little bit about the Vector and Gas Line Improvement Project. We put this project, or this information on our website. Vector also includes the information. It's in our Oakwood scene. And then as the project moves along, the contractor then reaches out to folks in the neighborhoods. But this project was started in 2010, so it's ongoing for quite some time. It's scheduled to complete in Oakwood in 2023. The project basically removes old bare steel cast iron lines, replaces the mains, installs services, and it removes the gas meters to the outside of the home. We have 2 project areas this year. The first project area is actually under construction currently. Fair Forest Circle, Ridgeway Road, a little bit of Oak Knoll and Deep Hollow Lane. And project area, we'll call project area B, includes work on Orchard Drive and Triangle Avenue and some of the connecting alleys in that area. Just some of the capital equipment purchases that we're anticipating this year. This first one, the refuse packer truck, $300,000 anticipated expenditure. We actually contracted for $245,000. That's still a purchase from last year. We're still waiting on delivery of the trucks. That is one thing we are starting to hear industry-wide is truck delivery is substantially delayed. We are told by the end of this month we should be very close to getting a delivery of that truck, and we certainly need it. So that's making us look at what we have this year and even next year. Talking with the city manager about ensuring that we can adequately get equipment replaced. So we're really looking at delivery and talking with our vendors about what that looks like in the delivery of those types of vehicles. It's mainly the larger vehicles, dump trucks or tandem axle trucks like our refuse trucks. It's not so much the pickup trucks that we're hearing, but it's the bigger unit trucks. Refuse scooters, I know we've been talking about this for several years, even prior to me coming. We didn't have a real good replacement. Well, we think we found one. I think Mr. Klopp shared that with you this evening. The next slide, I have a picture of one that we demoed. It is basically it's a mini truck. It looks like a truck, but it's a lot smaller. They come direct from overseas. We found a vendor in Van Wert that has these, and our staff has met. We've demoed it. We've had several of our staff drive it around the yard. We think they're going to be a very good, viable unit. So we are anticipating purchasing 4 scooters this year. Over the last 3 years, we had a budget of $95,000, and we've received a price for $89,100 for 4 scooters. This year, a dump truck is anticipated to be replaced, as long as we can get that vehicle. $150,000 is budgeted. We did receive pricing for $140,819. That includes the cabin chassis as well as the upfit of that vehicle. A pickup truck in the streets department replacing a 2005 truck, and the public works storage building was budgeted last year, but due to the pandemic we delayed this year. Anticipated expenditure is $175,000. So this is a demonstration unit that we have of the small truck. It's a Daihatsu, which is a subsidiary of Toyota. So the drivetrain, the engine is a Toyota. It does come overseas. The bed there is folded down, so pretty neat. It's like a landscaping truck where all the sides fold down, so those sides can fold up or come off. We simply place a poly bed in there, and using the dump hoist of the truck, determined that we pulled it up to the back of our packer truck and determined that it could or could not dump into our truck, and it worked fine. We'll have a little bit of a modification to it, but pretty much out of the box, it's a good fit for us. So our refuse and recycling program, continue our very unique weekly trash and recyclable collection program, collected over 4 days. We collect yard debris and special pickups. We have leaf disposal and leaf mulch coming up. I wanted to make sure I told you, starting this Saturday, our leaf mulch program begins April the 10th, continues over the next 5 Saturdays until May the 8th. It's from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Leaf mulch is available for residents at our public center, or they can call for delivery, and I know that those are filling up. We continue the self-service at Krager Field, self-dumping. We have our monthly Public Works yard self-dumping, which is still very popular, and the refuse dumpsters available for delivery. I showed you this graph the last time, and I wanted to show you how it kind of ended up. The top line, the one in orange with the orange circles, is our refuse collection in 2020, last year. So everything looked very good in January and February, and all of a sudden in March, when things started shutting down, we started seeing a large increase in our volume, and this is what we collect from the residents. And pretty much it stayed that way. We had a couple of anomalies where previous years were higher, and then in December it really shot up again. So I just did a quick average. Our annual average prior to last year was roughly 3,500 tons of collection. Last year we were at 3,900, just right over 3,900 tons. And then our annual recycling, which is not shown on this graph, is about 614 tons. So we're going to continue this. We collect this data anyway, so I like looking at the trend just to see if it's going to stay or if this was an anomaly year. So
Do you think it was more folks staying at home, or we don't have an explanation yet?
I think that's what it was. And as the year goes on, we'll be able to determine if that was true or not. But I think it was. I actually have not done this first quarter yet to see if it's trending like last year, or if it's more down to the average. So I'll certainly bring that up when I come again for our update and let you know how our averages are. For all those items that you cannot get rid of through our collection program, considered hazardous waste, so there's a list of all the types of hazardous waste here. There are two ways to dispose of that very easily and safely. Number one, you can take it to the Montgomery County Transfer Station. That's available on Tuesdays and Saturdays if folks want to take it themselves. But in Oakwood, they have a very nice service with the Rotary Club. They have a service project that they do, and they collect those basically at your house if you call the number shown on our screen, 937-296-5155. The next event is Saturday, April the 24th. The Rotary comes and collects those, disposes of them for you, all free of charge. They do accept donations for their service project. Just a little bit of an update on the Ridgeway Road in the city of Kettering. It's our neighboring jurisdiction. The project is ongoing. It looks very different if you've been down West Dorothy Lane. This is a rendering of what the project is going to look like. They do have public art components to their project. There is current vehicular detours, so it does affect the city of Oakwood. Residents can use Peach Orchard or Oak Knoll, and then Far Hills Avenue, and then folks in the city of Kettering can use Winding Way to get around West Dorothy Lane out of neighborhoods, because the Ridgeway Road is closed at Oak Knoll and right there at Lenox. So folks can get around in the neighborhoods. And then there are a couple of times, I had a couple of notes here, in that next couple of weeks when there's going to be an actual closure of Dorothy Lane for the setting of the bridges. It'll be Monday, April the 12th, and Tuesday, April the 13th. West Dorothy Lane will be closed overnight from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. for the setting of the new bridge beams. And the detour will be Southern Boulevard, Stroop Road, and Far Hills. And then the pedestrian detour and bicycle detour. The pedestrians, they're asking folks to use Oak Knoll, Far Hills, to cross Dorothy Lane at the signal at Far Hills in Dorothy Lane, and then continue on back onto the route. The bicycle route, it's an unsignalized intersection at Fairmont Avenue, but that is the detour route for the bicycles. Then just in conclusion, we've had a few personnel changes. We celebrated the retirement of two of our employees. One was Sean Huffman on November the 30th. Sean had over 31 years. Sean was when I met him, he was our street sweeper, pretty much operator. That's what Sean's primary duty was, but he worked in the street department, I think in other departments over his long tenured career. The second one was Gary Dursch. Gary was our water plant superintendent. Gary worked 14 years for the city of Oakwood. He worked 30 years previously in other employment, all in the water industry. And it's worth noting, very pleased that Gary has decided to come back and help us out. He's coming on Wednesdays, helping us part-time as we transition with our new employee and new employees, who I'll show next. Chris Branscombe is our water plant technician. So when Derek was promoted to water plant superintendent, we brought Chris in. December the 7th was when Chris started. Chris is doing a great job. He came from the city of Englewood, and prior to that, came from the city of Fairborn. He's doing great, learning the plants very well, doing all of our daily rounds, doing weekend duty. He's very effective at what he's doing. And then we hired a general service worker for refuse on February the 8th, Tristan Upton Hazlett. He's a young man from the village of Lewisburg. He's starting his career, and he's doing a nice job. He's learning the city and learning how to get out there and and run with our experienced employees. So he's doing very well and learning a lot. And then finally, what I was mentioning is Scott Loper started today. Scott is our water plant superintendent and water sewer foreman. Scott comes with almost 30 years of experience from the village of Enon, and then also most recently from the city of Fairborn. So Scott just started today. I saw him a little bit, but I know he and Chris know each other, so Chris grabbed him and was taking him to the water plant. That is going to be his main focus, is our water plant. He will work with Gary, he will work with me, and he'll work with Chris until he gets up to speed on our water plants specific to our facility. I know in the city of, the village of Enon, he had a plant that's very similar to ours, and I believe he even took a tour of our plant. So the operations and the treatment train of our facility is what he had. It's just been several years ago. So we've got Scott focused on water plant duties. So with that, Mayor, Council, if there's any questions, that's all I have for you.
That was an excellent summary of what's been going on, and you guys never missed a beat during the last year, and we really appreciate all your entire department has done. Are there questions?
Did you tell us, I'm sure you've told me before, the leaf mulch for, like, if you have it delivered?
Yes.
How much is that? Or
It is $100 for 3 cubic yards and $150 for 6 cubic yards.
all right, got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect.
Or
Do
you-
a lot of people do that?
They do, yes.
Or
Yes.
you can pick it up for free.
Or you can pick it up for free, yes.
Time is money. Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
Doug, quick question.
Yes.
You mentioned the stormwater inlets along Far Hills.
Yes.
Are we replacing all of them?
No, it's not a replacement. If you notice, some of them are the really long,
Yep.
and they have a concrete top, and a lot of that concrete is failing.
Okay.
So as much as we can, we're going to preserve that. We're going to take off the deteriorated concrete and just replace the concrete.
So just repair the ones that need it?
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
understand the need to do it for the 2024 repaving of Far Hills. I just didn't understand the 3 years prior. It's just time because there's so many that need it.
That is correct.
Makes sense, that's
Yes.
fine. Okay, good. And the ones that, and we could always do a few others if they fail in the next
Absolutely.
couple of years. Okay,
Yes.
great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right, thank you for your
Thank you.
report. I guess it is now time for our city manager's report.
Thank you, Your
March.
Honor. Let me just piggyback on a couple things that Doug spoke about. He mentioned the fiber line to Orchardley Park, and as he was talking about that, I was having a flashback to the year 2000, 2001, and that's the time period when we built our comprehensive fiber optic infrastructure, city-owned public infrastructure here in Oakwood. It was a significant investment, and that system has paid huge dividends. It's allowed us to interconnect our traffic signals, to automatically control our water system, to connect our public facilities, the Public Works Center, the city building, the OCC, for telephone use, for computer use. It's allowed us to install security cameras in a number of different locations in Oakwood and transmit live photo images from those cameras right here to the public safety dispatch, and several other things. The one public facility that back in 2000, 2001 we did not extend the fiber to was Orchardley Park. And frankly, I don't remember why that was, other than probably a cost consideration. And so we're real happy now that we have the resources to do that, and as soon as the fiber work is done, which I think will be in a week or two, we will install some security cameras at Orchardley Park. And as you know, that's our most heavily used park, and I think we'll benefit tremendously by having those cameras. Secondly, today marked the beginning of our annual fire hydrant flushing, and it's been reported in the Oakwood Register, I think, the last couple of weeks. If folks want to see the schedule, you can find it on our website. But basically, the flushing serves two purposes. One, it clears out the pipes. Much of our underground infrastructure is 80 to 100 years old, and there's a little bit of corrosion that takes place inside the pipe, and so running the large volumes of water through a hydrant clears the the main lines. But secondly, and equally or perhaps more importantly, it's a very specific way of verifying that our fire hydrants are fully functional. So we literally go to each one of the, I think we have 345 now, hydrants, and we open them up and blow water out and check them and lubricate as needed. And typically in a year we'll find half a dozen that need some sort of maintenance, and every once in a while we'll find a hydrant that did not work. And so, I mean, obviously that's a big deal, and that demonstrates the value of that hydrant flushing program. And the last thing related to public works, there's a lot of concrete street work taking place on Ridgeway Road. Folks that live in the area and travel that road will remember over a 2-year period, just a couple years ago, we did extensive concrete replacement on Ridgeway. The work that's being done right now is being done by a contractor working for Vectren, and it's essentially repairing the damaged concrete panels that were where excavations were needed to complete the gas infrastructure work as part of the bare steel cast iron Vectren project. So all that work that's taking place is being done at the expense of Vectren by one of their contractors, and when they're all done, that Ridgeway will be back to what it was a couple years ago when we completed our project. Next, I want to comment on the annual report. I'm very proud of this. By now, I think every household in Oakwood and every business property should have received it. I received mine in the mail about a week ago, and it's 32 pages packed full of information about the city. I think it's about as transparent as we can be in terms of our operations here, our finances, and everything in between. So I would encourage everyone to read through that. Today also marked the official opening of our parks, and while our parks are, our 3 larger parks, Orchardley, Schaefer, and Fair Ridge, and then also Cook Park now are open year-round. We do a kind of a comprehensive refurbishing, cleaning, etc., and then have a sort of grand opening day, and that was today. Basketball hoops are back up at Orchardley Park and at Schaefer Park, and importantly, the restrooms are open again at Orchardley Park and also down at Lane Stadium or at Old River Field. And my last comment is that planning is well underway for the Memorial Day opening of Gardner Pool, and Carol Collins and her staff are doing a great job of working through what is about a 2-month task in getting that pool opened. And as was reported in the Oakwood Scene that we all received a couple weeks ago, at the moment we are planning to operate the pool in the same manner that we did last year, with safety protocols in place, and importantly a pre-registration system, with 4 different blocks of time each day, 7 days a week, when folks can sign up to use the pool for a couple hours a pop. If situations change here and guidance from the state, Department of Health, etc., allow us to lessen those restrictions and make the pool more widely available when folks want to use it, we'll respond accordingly. But we're just at the moment waiting for additional guidance from primarily the State Department of Health. That's all I have tonight.
Any questions for our city manager? All right, I think they definitely did a good job with the pool last year.
Oh, absolutely. I went every day.
Councilmember Hilton,
Fantastic. Yeah.
okay. Perfect. All right. Again, please let all your staff know the city really appreciates all your efforts that you've done. So, it would now be time for council comments. Councilmember Turbin.
I do have a comment, and this kind of piggybacks on what Norm was saying about the opening of the pool, the Gardner pool. I wanted to mention that the Historical Society is hoping to have a single house tour in June to COVID permitting. And the home that was chosen was the original home that the Gardners built in 1928. So, and I don't know if you know the story, but the Gardners sadly had a grandson that passed away. And so they donated the money, and the pool is therefore named after their grandson, William.
Well, great. So you think it's going to be, the tour is going to be
We think
early
so.
June or late June?
We're still in talks
Still
with the
up
Board
to
of Health. It's going to be mid-June.
mid-June?
Yeah, so we're excited, and it's going to be very exclusive.
Okay, so more to come on that.
More to come.
Okay. Councilmember Hilton.
Yes, Your Honor, I have two comments. One is about COVID. I haven't talked about that ever, but sort of like what Chief Hill was saying, it's really not our problem here, but it affects us. And over the past 2 days, I've seen just a nice summary of where we go from here. One from the health orders that came out today in Ohio, but it's down to two things: the vaccine and being careful with the masks. And you talked about the vaccines in our March meeting.
That
Believe it
number
or
two.
not, one meeting ago, you said, get a vaccine if you're eligible. And we're all like, well, who's eligible? Nobody's eligible. Well, now, I took my kid down there. he's getting a second shot next week. So good for Ohio, somebody, Governor DeWine and everybody who's executing the plan. And keep wearing your masks. I mean, I know everybody's so tired of it, but just we're so close. We're so close. So and in fact, our numbers are really going up. We're not as bad as Michigan, but anyway. But a happier thing than that our numbers are going up. I did my first reservation of a program through the OCC registration system. I signed up for the family membership for the Hollinger Tennis Club. So, and I think Gardner Pool. I don't know if I can do that yet, but I'm not sure. But
I think you can.
I'll check. Yeah, so that'll be next. So
Very good.
that's all.
Thank you. I know that I had my second COVID shot the Thursday at the beginning of the NCAA tournament because I was convinced I was going to have some side effects and I needed to take 3 days off to watch all the basketball games. All I had was a sore arm. But Councilmember Stevens, you have any comments?
Not this evening, Your Honor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I also do not have any comments since in 1/2 hour there's like a big basketball game getting ready to start. And it's the last one. So look forward to the Bears and the Dogs, the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs and the Bears. Okay. So with that, our meeting is concluded. Our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, May 3rd, 2021. Thank you very much for attending and watching us on Zoom. Good night.